The business model, what is it and why learn it, why study it, and why use it? There are several types of business model conventions or forms out there. And for sake of simplicity, and also because I have great respect for the business model canvas, that is the form that we will be using in our class and also just for purposes of discussion in this video. Business model canvas was developed by Alex Osterwalder and is used under license, a Creative Commons license held by Strategizer. I encourage you to check out strategizer.com. You can sign up for a lot of and get access to an amazing abundance of free resources associated with the business model canvas. Why do we even care about a business model? By having a business model done in advance, we can minimize error, minimize cost in terms of repeating mistakes or making unnecessary mistakes, and we can increase the likelihood or probability of our new venture or our startup succeeding. Here we see a business model canvas without the 9 different areas labeled, and what we've done is it's broken down into 3 segments: feasibility, desirability, and viability. And what we're talking about when we look at this section here of the business model canvas, we're going to try to argue or prove that our idea is feasible. It could actually happen. We could launch in real world. Over here, we're going to prove to the extent that we're able that there are customers out there who will pay for our service or our product. So we have those 2. The next big thing is, will those customers pay enough that our revenue will exceed our cost, therefore making us financially viable? Here we can see the entire canvas laid out for us, all 9 elements. And the beauty of this is that the 9 elements flow together in the sense that generally we start, customer value proposition, and then we start chipping away at these until we complete all 9. The order in which we complete them doesn't have to be perfect. It's not the same for everybody. And obviously, depending on our type of startup or new venture, the significance of each one of these elements will change. Meaning, key partners might be very important for me, might not be as important for another startup, and that's fine. Let's jump into these. I'm going to go through these quickly just to give you an overview. No new venture, doesn't matter what kind it is, doesn't matter if it's high growth, innovation, technology, Main Street, or even social mission, gets off the ground without a defined customer segment. Who are we helping? Who are we serving? Who's buying our product? And this cannot be a shotgun approach where you're just saying all young people, all teenagers, all adults, all people who like X drink. You've got to do your homework and you've got to define your specific customer segment or segments. There might be 2 or 3. Be careful. We don't want to over grasp. But nothing starts without first defining who our customer is. Who are we solving a problem for? That then brings us over to value propositions. Value proposition, when I talk about that, when you see it on the canvas, it can be a little bit confusing because it assumes that you are solving a problem for a customer segment. So what I prefer to do is to some degree, modify the value propositions, and I do it like this. Problem plus solution equals value proposition. We've identified a problem for a known customer segment. Okay? We've come up with some ideas or an idea, which is the solution for a customer problem. That is our value proposition. It is the bundle of products or services that create value for a specific customer segment. Again, specific customer segment. So who are we helping? What problem are we solving? The solution to that problem is the value proposition. Terminology changes from person to person, but I really like to look at the value proposition being problem plus solution equals value proposition. So we have a customer, we have identified a problem that customer has in their life. We've come up with a solution. So that's our value proposition. How are we going to communicate this to our customer or the user? That's our channels. You have to, again, be specific. If you tell me that your customer segment is 45-year-olds, then you cannot tell me that your channel is Snap, because 45-year-olds mostly are not in Snap. So how you communicate your value proposition, the solution to a problem, it must align with your stated customer segment. So you have to argue why, or what is the appropriate way to communicate the value that your new venture is bringing to a customer in the appropriate channel. Customer relationships. How do our customers want us to communicate or interact with them? What type of relationship do we want? There are some things that I do in life where I want to have a human interaction. I mean, I want to talk to somebody across a table or across a desk, or I want to be able to speak with somebody on the phone. But the reality is, I like to do a lot of stuff in an automated fashion and not have to deal with somebody else on the other side. And so that's what you have to figure out. In terms of our customer relationship, are we going to have maybe a niche business, and we're going to focus on, that one-on-one customer experience where you're going to get to talk to a live human being? Or are we going to automate our service and reduce our cost so that we can give our clients or customers a more affordable experience? So that's something to think about. How do your customers want to be engaged? Do they want face-to-face? Are they okay with virtual, automated, etc.? Key resources refers to those assets that I need to make my business model launch. If I'm, for example, going to open a restaurant, one of the key resources I need is a physical location. That's actually the first thing I need, right? If my restaurant is going to be seated dining, etc. So key resources necessarily change from business to business, from startup to startup. And it's your job to figure out, okay, what are my top 3, maybe my top 5 needs in terms of resources? Key activities describes what we need to do to make the model work. So if I am inventing a new tech process or something in the area of technology that's cool, that's exciting, maybe one of the first things I need to do is secure that intellectual property via a patent. But let's say I'm not going into the STEM world or the tech world, and I'm going to open a restaurant, and the building that I'm buying needs a complete remodel. Well, then I'm going to hire an architect that's going to help me design and execute on that remodel. So what are my activities? First, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. At least 3 activities that I need to do to make my model work. Key partners. Nobody is successful alone. Imagine this. You're pitching your idea in a startup pitch competition, and you've got this great idea. It's a big idea. People like your idea, but you're 18, 19, 20 years old. What you want to do is identify in the world, who do I need to partner with? Who do I need to have on my team to support me so that I can present to the judges or to investors that my idea is feasible? Because certainly I can't do it alone, but with these key partners and their support, we can launch. Cost structure. Often when we talk about business models, we get excited and we immediately start to think and dream about how much money we can make, which is great. Nothing wrong with that. But we tend to forget that there's this thing called cost. And so what we want to do is pause and identify our most significant cost. And don't let that scare you. You're not going to make necessarily a profit in year 1, year 2, year 3. Hopefully by year 3, maybe you're breaking even. But it's very rare for a startup or a new venture to be highly profitable in year 1. I mean, that is crazy, the exception. The reason that the cost structure is important because it communicates to investors and to other key stakeholders who might have an interest in your new venture that you've done your homework, that you're mature enough to actually pause and look at, okay, how much is this going to cost? There's no guarantee that that will be the actual cost. It might be a little bit higher, it might be lower, but it's really just communicating to investors and other stakeholders that you've done your homework and are sincere about developing this new venture. Revenue streams. How do we make money? And this doesn't change whether you're a for-profit or non-for-profit company. All new ventures, startup businesses, or business entities have cost. We have cost to start up the business. Once we start the business, we have cost to run the business. We have employees, we have utility bills, et cetera, et cetera. So we need to make sure that the money coming in or the revenue exceeds our cost. But then we want to be more creative. We want to think about my challenge to everyone that's considering a startup venture. Try to come up with at least 3 revenue streams. 3 ways that you can generate revenue for your business. Why? The pandemic happened, right? And we had a lockdown. So if you were a restaurant that only had in-restaurant seating, you had one revenue stream. And when the lockdown happened, you closed your doors. Restaurants that had drive-up or pick-up services, it's a second revenue stream. They were able to stay open. And then those that through third party or themselves did food delivery, that was a third revenue stream. So having multiple revenue streams does 2 things. It increases your revenue because you have 3 ways of making revenue, but then also it makes you more likely to withstand some difficult times in the event that one of your revenue streams simply becomes unavailable. If you were to go on the web, you can simply search examples of the business model canvas and you'll find them. Airbnb is a great example. You look at their customer segment. You've got 2 customer segments. You've got the host, which are the homeowners, and you've got the guest. So that's, some people might not have thought about that, but if you're Airbnb, the homeowner or the host is a customer as well as the guest. The value proposition: make money renting idle rooms, properties, make the experience easy and secure. Okay, and then so that's the value proposition as to the host. Stay in a unique place, live in a new experience in a secure and convenient way. This would be the user. So you think about that, they're examining the business model canvas from each unique perspective of each of these 2 customer segments. So again, you can go any type of quick internet research and you'll find multiple variants of business model canvas examples. Again, the key thing to keep in mind is that the purpose of a business model is to decrease the probability of you failing, increasing the probability of you being successful. So thank you very much.